Alrighty, folks. One rental at a time is a different YouTube channel because we bring in experts from around the country and get into the data, what is going on right now on the ground. These are not opinions, these are facts. And we are going to talk with Beth Traverso, top 1% agent in the country, about Kings County, aka Seattle. What is going on right now? How you doing, Beth?
Hi, doing great, Mike. Thank you so much for having me back here. Always a highlight of the week. Great to connect with you and everybody out there in the ORAT community. So,
Yes.
yes. So we do have some info. We have March's data has been officially released, and so what we're going to do is we're going to look at the. I like to go straight to the source, Northwest Multiple Listing Service. So it's not spun to fit any particular narrative. It's just there in a nice format where we can kind of look at it and kind of look at what we're seeing month over month and year over year. So I'm going to need to do a screen share here. And then we just get it up here and then we can do the share. So hold
Awesome.
on. I'm not the most techie person. I try, but
No, it's
yeah.
right. One of the things I love that you bring to this is just the raw data uh,
Yeah.
of what's going on. So very cool.
Yeah. So can you see this? And is it big enough?
If you can make it a little bit bigger, maybe one more click.
All right. Let's try one more click here. Is that good?
One, yeah, it's good. Yeah, that works.
I can make it bigger, but then we're cutting off the top.
No,
So,
that's good.
so what the most interesting part is down here at the bottom for all King County. And so give people a frame of reference. So King County, Washington is the greater Seattle area. It's a metropolitan area with about 2 million or so residents. And our economy is very tech heavy. It's kind of like the Bay Area. So we're kind of
Yep.
seeing what's happening there. And so what's been interesting to me is, well, first of all, March here is just continuing the story of fewer listings coming on the
Mhm.
market. So down here in the bottom corner, this is the new listing. So new in 2023, 2,268. And then new last year, same month, was 3,177. So it's continuing that trend of fewer new listings.
All right.
And on a more micro data in my areas on the east side here, where I look at my buy box, what I've been seeing is twice as many pendings this week as we had new listings. So
Wow.
it's draining down, more and more. Inventories scarce, hard to come by. Not seeing the spring surge that we would typically expect to be peaking around this time of year. For
Yeah,
us, around right around now is when it starts to drop.
let's remind people, because again, there's a lot of people. Logan from Housing Wire and I are actually debating on Twitter. He's rather confident based on his history, and he's probably right. This is what he does every day. But he's saying the spring bump is still coming. And I'm like, dude, Logan, it's not showing up, man. It's not coming this year. It's not coming next year. But it's
Yeah.
just the supply's not coming. So we'll know soon.
And it might
Uh,
in some markets. I feel like in our market, just because of the seasonality that we always see, where our surge happens early, it's actually late winter is when we
yeah,
get that
in
spring bump
January, you told
happens.
us.
Yeah. Mid to late January is when we start to see the rushes on, usually around that time. And hasn't happened. Where I think that he could be onto something is if rates do continue to trend down, we might get some of those people that have been on the sidelines coming in later in the year,
But that's
or
all
maybe
demand. That's all demand. There's no supply from that.
no supply. The
It's
supply has to
just,
come from somewhere.
yeah.
And I'm not seeing, so I'm tend to be more listing heavy as an agent. And the listings that I'm bringing on now, they tend to be people who have been in their home for decades.
Yeah.
And
Life,
they're,
true life events.
yes, they're
Yeah.
moving out of state. They're moving to be closer to family. They have things that are more important to them than a interest rate. And so, and
Yeah.
they don't want to wait for rates to maybe come down later when they're
They don't
already
care. They're not rate sensitive. They're making
tired.
a life choice. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
there's only so many of those, and I do talk with a lot of people who are debating if they should do a move up or not. And it's tough to make those numbers work if you're going to sell and buy. And that's two
Mm.
transactions that don't happen, the sell and the buy.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
all the move up people are still feeling that lock in effect to set different degrees. But
So
um
I love going left to right in this, your spreadsheet, because
mm-hmm,
we've done this for past few months. People can go back and check out your playlist.
yeah.
But I just did the math. Your listings are down 29%.
Mm-hmm.
New listing. And again, I think that trend continues, right? There people lock ins, all these things we've talked about, move up not happening, two transactions.
Yeah.
So it's never going to go to zero. Like life events still happen, but it's not coming. And then we go to the next two columns. Actives are up, but I think that's more about just how crazy last year was than
Yes.
this year.
Last year had even less inventory, believe it or not.
Right.
And but the demand was far higher. So fueled by all the things that you talk about on the channel, the rates, the pandemic economy, all those things that were going on, was matched to the flame, and that's where, on the east side this month, last year, we were that chart that we were looking at with the average percent year over list price that homes were selling for was 118% on the east side. And so now we're looking at that and it's come way down. You see that over here in the pricing where on the east side last year, the median was 1.7. That's because everyone was bidding everything up $300,000 over list price on average.
It's funny that the math almost worked out exactly. Again, you can go back and look at your playlist. I think the video is called something like Chart 6. In Chart 6, you showed us that the average home buyer in March, I think it was March, was paying 113% a list.
Yeah.
So guess what? A year later, you gave it all back. That's what that is. That's what that is. It's crazy.
Right. And it's really interesting because when I'm looking month to month, actually this month prices are up month over month, which is what we normally see with the seasonality right now. Is prices are going up. They're not trending down month. Prices aren't going down from one month to the next, right, but they are down year over year.
Yeah, we got to pay for the sins from last year. We had 3 months of stupid behavior.
Yeah. But what I'm seeing in the headlines in the Seattle Times and other news media is that, we're seeing these numbers where they're, prices are down 17% on the east side, 10% in Seattle, almost 10% overall. And that's all true. None of it's inaccurate. Yeah. But it's just, but if people think that it's 10%, like you're going to get 10% off right now over what they were in January, that's a false assumption in most cases. So
it absolutely is. And that's why you're going to have transactions be down, right? Transactions are down 30%, 29.5%. They're kind of the middle of the column.
Yeah. And again, we saw the most pain last summer that's when we were seeing transactions took a nosedive about 50% at one point. They just fell off a cliff, and they've rebounded some since then. But we still are seeing, as you can see down here, all King County, 32.89%. Oh, that's pending sales. The closed sales, 29.5. Yeah. So pendings are down even more than the sales. So what does that tell us? That there's going to be fewer closings as we move.
I don't know anything about I don't know what it'd be called. City Vashon, that last city below East Side.
Yeah, Vashon Island. It's just basically they give it its own little. It's a little island out in the Puget Sound. Okay, it's a tiny little market. You can see there's 13 active listings or something. So
right, I just never heard of it. Yeah, so it's an island. Got it. Island.
It's an island. Yeah, we have a few of those around here, but yeah, Seattle being the biggest markets here is Seattle. And you can see here, so we're at about 870, we'll call it, but last year it was at 970, so it's a significant decrease of almost 100,000 in the median closed sale. But it's up from last month where it was 825. It was 825 in February. Now it's 870. So prices are up that much in 1 month. So it's easy. And my takeaway I'm hoping people will get is to look a little deeper into these numbers and the headlines, which are designed to get clicks. Mm-hmm. And none of what they're saying is inaccurate, but just keep in mind that what's happening year over year is not necessarily going to tell you that you're going to be getting huge price cuts and concessions right now.
I will give you this again. This is something I've called very early in January. We're going to have 3 months at the national level, 3, possibly 4 months where we have to pay for last year's bad behavior, right? There was no inventory, people overpaying, waiving conditions, all that stuff. Seattle and King County was a poster child of this, as you've shared with us. But December on December, you'll be up. Seattle, King County will be up December on December.
It will be up. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're already seeing that taking shape. But you're right. I mean, so what happened last year was, a lot of agents. I was just talking to an agent on the phone before we jumped on our call about it's almost like a PTSD when we talk about that time because it was so intense and just it's hard to describe the level of insanity. People that were trying to buy during that time understand. And I think that's why the inventory was even why we had even fewer new listings at that time, because people were scared to sell their house, because it's like there's going to be their house will become under siege by buyers, and then where are they going to buy? They have to jump into that fray, and and you have to move twice, you have to move out of your house, sell it, and then buy another one. And it would take sometimes months, and you'd have to risk your life savings and everything, your firstborn and all that other stuff just to get a chance to get a house. And so, so now we're seeing the fallout from that now, where, but things change. Now there's different reasons why people aren't bringing their house on the market. So we've had this low inventory story for years here. It's just been different reasons why.
Well, it doesn't seem like it's getting any better. That new listing data is probably the most stark reminder.
Yeah.
That it's not going to get better this year.
And just the overall numbers too. I mean, for a metropolitan area with about 2 million people, this is all price points.
Yeah, it's all price points. Wow.
It does not include condos. One thing I'll say is residential only.
Sure, houses. Yep.
But yeah.
Pretty wild.
Interesting to see. Yeah. So, and then our months of inventory actually went down 1.18.
Wow.
Down here in the lower right.
Mm-hmm.
So 1.18 last month, it was 1.34, so it's not like it's going way. I mean, how much lower can you really go from that? But we'll find out.
Yeah. Again, I think the trend is less. This is my biggest fear. I don't know if we've talked about this. I believe rates are trending down. I believe the worst interest rate for housing is 5.5%, because we already know 6% unlocks demand. I think 5.5 just goes next level. And unfortunately, 5.5 is not low enough to bring back supply.
Right.
So this gets really wild at 5.5.
I agree. And so one thing I want to say too, with I'll stop the share now. One thing I want to say too to people is it's case by case, because even looking at this chart, I'm seeing some houses are selling with bidding wars, and some, but a lot still aren't. Even with this dynamic, you would think everything should be selling with multiple offers, probably, if the inventory is that low and demand is getting higher. But it isn't. So what I've been seeing is there's a lot of buyers out there that are being very thoughtful and taking their time to fully consider a big financial decision, which is not people should take their time and carefully consider making a big financial decision, like purchasing a house. But that's what I've been seeing, on a lot of our listings and others around is, even a hot house might stay on the market for, 10 days or
You're saying that's like it's forever. It's like
forever when it was 2 days, or 3 if you're lucky.
Yeah, we're talking 2 hours. Yeah, exactly.
I know. So 10 days is an eternity, and where we are in our market, people are expected to respond fast, move fast, everything's fast 24/7, so 10 days is kind of like a leisurely pace. It's like you can come back and look another time, you can bring your friend or your mom, and you can have a discussion about it. You can negotiate. We're still seeing sometimes people coming in lower than list price, even on new listings. So your agent can guide you on that. Buyers, can see what's happening out there and evaluate each situation independently, because you are still going to have some opportunities. I like this market actually, because it's more balanced.
Yeah, there you go.
Every market has its challenges. This one, it just happens to be no inventory.
I like slower. I like
slower, but slow is not necessarily a bad thing. There's positive aspects to that. And so that's what I hope people are finding out there.
If somebody wanted to buy or sell in King County, how could they reach out? But more importantly, if you want to get in the network of a top 1% agent and get a referral to another high quality agent, you need to reach out to Beth Traverso. How should they do that?
Yeah. So through BethTraversoGroup.com, my name's spelled there in the corner. And I had 5 people reach out to me this week from our One Rental at a Time community. It was awesome getting to know people out there. So nice. I just wanted to say thanks. That's great. So happy to connect with people out there, and thank you so much.
Awesome. And again, she's got an amazing playlist called Beth. Really sophisticated name there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.